is a beautiful day for racing here at Tsukuba Circuit in Japan. Welcome to Sim TV. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Liam Sheen tonight for the return of the 3-Wide Racing League Cold Hard Art Cup Series. It's been 2 weeks since we've seen you here on Sim TV, and finally glad to be back after I spent my weekend at Circuit of the Americas with GT World Challenge America. Finally back for some more sim racing action. We'll have fuel for you tomorrow night and more coming up later in the week. But tonight we take on what is probably the weirdest combination of racing that we've probably ever seen here on Sim TV. 1987 stock cars and Tsukuba, a tiny little road course racetrack that's in Japan. It's a club racing circuit with cars that are not club racing cars. Liam, welcome back. This is a weird one tonight, but it should be interesting. We got a doubleheader, 2 30-minute races.
Yeah, this is pretty unpredictable. I gotta say, this is one of the weirder combinations I've seen on iRacing, besides, the obviously on purpose Pro 2 lights at Talladega or something like that. But this is definitely a big wild card. It's probably one of those tracks that people don't necessarily practice on too much, so maybe we'll see a surprise winner here in a minute.
Yeah, you're right about not necessarily practicing on it, and why would you with this car? I mean, you might get some practice on this in a Miata or something like that, but certainly not a stock car. Here in Suma, Japan, 42,000 the population of the area. 12 turns, just over 2 kilometers. It is a small racetrack here, and that's going to be a topic of discussion all night. But I think the big discussion is how short this place is and how narrow it is. To have a look here, we're looking into turn number 1, off into turn 4. It's barely 2 car widths wide, and then there's not a lot of space to operate here at Tsukuba. We're going to have over 20 cars here tonight, Liam, so I think staying in one piece is the name of the game. But I think the other discussion is this is a doubleheader race. There's double points on the line tonight in 2 30-minute races. So keep yourself in one piece, keep yourself on the racetrack, and you probably have an okay night.
Yeah, one thing I'm kind of scratching my head at is the amount of passing zones. There can't be like too many, except probably going into one, or maybe going into that long backstretch there. It's going to be interesting to see how everyone tests their patience, see how long everyone's willing to wait to make something happen. It's certainly going to be interesting to see who's going to make the mistakes early on and eventually lose a good result in the race. They have 3 races to do it, but
You're right about the lack of passing zones, Liam. I just think it's going to be one of these races where you have to be super physical to make things happen, and therefore I think you could probably pass it in any corner if you use the bumper. It's just where can you pass cleanly? Probably not a lot of places. I'm already noticing a lot of brake heat built up in the nose of this number 87. Look at the rotors glowing on this car. Leaning on the brakes here a lot. You're spending most of the laps slowing down, so keeping the brake temperatures and tire pressures in check will be tricky. If you want to follow along in real time, live timing is available at simtvbroadcasting.com/timing, and you can check that out and keep an eye on your favorites throughout the evening tonight. Again, you're watching Sim TV. We've got Xfinity Series action. They're heading off to their next event. And having a look at their schedule, I'm not exactly sure where they're going. So while we wait for qualifying to conclude here, tomorrow night, the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series will be headed to North Wilkesboro. So that'll be a fun one. Next week will be Talladega. Then a week off before Road America on October 13th. That'll be a fun one for sure as well. There is Richard Hines. He's 7th right now. And a little bit of a spin. But James Miller up at the front, Liam, and we've seen him dominate the road courses, or at least be near the front. So maybe he's the guy to beat tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting battle between Drew Eisenman and James Miller. I know James Miller, I've raced him a lot in the past, and it's going to be, oh, wow, you see that left front get picked up so far. But it's going to be really interesting to see these two duke it out for the win. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the 77 all over the back bumper of the 09.
Yeah, I think we're going to see these left front tires popping up that corner all night long. Look at the rear brakes even heating up. That's not something you see often. But again, slowing these cars down is going to be a challenge tonight. James Miller, the quickest on the racetrack, with a 57.945, less than a minute lap time around here, which means we're going to see probably near 40 laps in this race as we come out of the final corner. Not expecting full course yellows, but the potential is always there. If the track is blocked, we will go to a full course yellow condition tonight. We have seen that in the past. Don't count it out tonight either. We've got over 20 cars and a small racetrack to boot, so keep your eye on finding a place and a way through the chaos if it happens. Matt Grunberg out on track right now in the number 54. Good-looking race car. He's good everywhere we go, Liam, but typically he doesn't qualify up towards the front. I'm curious, he's not even going to get a lap in, so he'll start at the back and have to, look at him carry that left front. He'll have to start at the back and drive through the field.
Yeah, Matt Gruenberg's obviously a threat every single racetrack we go, but obviously not going to be enough time for a lap here. As you're going to see, he's going to disappear right there back into the abyss he goes. But Matt Gruenberg, one of the guys to watch every week, but it's going to be really strange seeing him try to come back from the back. We don't really see that much, especially at a road course. You see people with more of a sense of urgency to get their cars qualified up towards the front.
Well, I corrected myself here. It's not going to be 40 laps. It'll be more like 31 with the time that we've got here tonight. Nick Boyd in the number 74. Excuse me. He will start on the outside, or actually I think he's in row 2 there on the outside. On the inside will be the 98. That's Jeffrey Fisher. A couple of those cars, teammates, the 09, the 98, lined up in that inside lane. And we head down to turn 1, Liam. The tricky part about this racetrack is how tight that first corner is. You can see it on the right-hand side of your screen. This is a 180-degree turn. Then you lead down this this weaving back straightaway into another hairpin turn. This is such a challenging section of racetrack, and I imagine we'll see some bumps and probably not a whole lot of crashes per se, but a whole lot of spins maybe.
Yeah, those two hairpins, while they look the same, are actually incredibly different with how you have to take those corners. Usually with turn 1, you have to take a wider entry and make a late apex, but you kind of want to hug that the bottom going into the second hairpin there. So it's going to be, at least, I got to say, it's going to be pretty interesting to see how brave people are going to be going into 1. Especially on this first lap here, everyone's going to try to claw and get what they can.
Here's a look at your starting lineup. James Miller and Drew Eisenman on the front row. Then in row number 2, Jeff Fisher and Nick Boyd in the 98 and 74. Moving on back to row number 3, starting on the inside line in 5th will be Race Clark in the 22 car. Justin Kolb in the 52. He almost won the Cup Series championship last year. He rolls off 6th. Then Sam Close, Alex Boyd, 7th and 8th. Good qualifying effort for the number 10 of Alex Boyd. And rounding out the top 10 will be Richard Hines and Mike Stevens. And for Stevens as well, not a bad starting spot this evening. We'll let the rest of the order scroll along the bottom of the screen, and we'll take a look at our weather information here in just a moment as well. And we actually have to wait till it gets green just because of a short pace lap here at Tsukuba. 30 minutes here, and then we'll do another 30 minutes later this evening in our second of 2 races. So make sure that you stick around even after this one goes checkered in about 30 minutes time. You're watching Sim TV on the East Coast nights. 9:53 will conclude this race at about 10:23 Eastern time. So not a whole lot of time to get it done here, especially from the back. James Miller in the 09. He's been commanding on road courses so far this year. We'll see if he can continue that domination. Green flag at a wave, and we're away and racing from Tsukuba.
A few stragglers towards the back, but no one's gonna be really that brave going into here. Really slow for Jordan McEvoy right there, but the 09 is gonna pull away by a huge margin over the 77 already, almost a whole set of corners ahead of that 77 car. Oh, he locks up the brakes.
Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of brake lockup. Look at them carrying those front left tires as they come through turns 3 and 4. And so far, so good. Not a whole lot of drama. There's some more side-by-side. The 9 car, Nick Miller, picking up the left front. There is the 20 of Brady Smith pulling in line in front of Michael Goodman. But up front, you mentioned it, James Miller pulling clear of Drew Eisenman. The battles are still behind them as they head into the hairpin to set up for a slight breathing moment. They get up to speed before they slam on the brakes for the final corner.
Yeah, just the way they pick up the right front. Oh, wow. Damage to the... I'm not sure who this is.
That's Cameron Rich in the 17, and he was all on his own. I wonder, did he just get loose here? Oh, just gets loose and hits the hay bales, and that's it for Cameron Rich, at least for this race.
It's so easy to do that with how much power these cars have, but James Miller up front, his teammate, the 17's teammate, Drew Eisenman in second, and then Jeffrey Fisher with a really strong run in third in that 98 car.
Yeah, Fisher hanging on to the spot that he started in. Behind them, a little bit of a scrap going on for position between the 5 and the 87. Richard Hines going to go around the outside of the 5 car to try to get a run here. And getting power down is the name of the game tonight. These cars will be weaving and wobbling all over as they try to accelerate. The 9 car of Nick Miller again. Oh, he gets tagged by the 27 of Cogswell, and that'll check everybody up behind him.
Yeah, Nick Miller tried to get going there, but Jonathan Cogswell wanted to go. Again, we talk about these limited passing opportunities, and looks like Matt Gruenberg's making some good work. Not as much as I thought, already 12 seconds behind James Miller, so maybe he's thinking race 2 is the race he has to focus in.
braking zone here for the final corner for Matt Grunberg. He's up 6 spots already, which is certainly a good climb, and going to set up corner exit here and just try to power on out and get a run here on Dustin Dewar in the number 32. In front of them, Dustin Dewar is going to have a look here at the 20 of Brady Smith. Actually, that's Michael Goodman having a look down the inside, unable to complete the pass as Smith runs a tad wide on exit.
Yeah, Michael Goodman having a solid run here. I'm pretty sure this is one of his better runs this season. I haven't really been keeping up with the 3. Oh, wow, teammates get together. The 21 all over the back bump of the 54. He slams into him and he goes around. It doesn't look like anyone else was involved in that, but it looks like a misjudgment by McEvoy.
Yeah, certainly just a misjudgment, but there is a little bit of damage. Not that hard of a hit, all things considered. The speeds we're working with tonight are so slow. Average speeds certainly slower than we're used to. There's the 20. Big dive on Skylar Nitzel's number 11. That'll open the door for Matt Grunberg. He'll head up the inside as they run down the back straight. Bobble for Donovan Smith in the number 1. That's that Apple Ford Thunder Chicken in the background as they head into the final corner. Whoa, the 11 off track, going to get the tires in the dirt, and he'll go around for a loop.
Yeah, the 11 spins around. Doesn't look like he's gonna.
Easy to do that. It's just, get off in the corner and you just get the tire off in the dirt just a little bit. He'll loop it and get back rolling, but he'll drop all the way down to 22nd position.
Yeah, I think that's the back of the field. Oh, 22, Race Clark around. I hate to see that. He's been having such a great season so far this year. The limited races I've watched, I've seen him be a challenger almost every race, and it's unfortunate to see him spinning around there.
Yeah, I think he just got in too hot, and just you can see that car just, I think it was on the downshift that it just lost control, and you have to be careful. These cars require a lot more attention to be paid on the downshift process. The modern Cup cars, you can basically just put the car in gear and add a little bit of throttle to match the revs, but in these cars, you basically have to heel-toe downshift them the way you used to back in the day, and not a lot of drivers have experience in that, especially in the stock car realm. As the 54 drives up the inside, he'll go through. If you come up in sports cars, you sort of have to learn how to drive stick. You drive the the stock car stuff here, Liam, and you generally are even in the street stock, you can kind of get away with a lot in terms of the transmission. Not so much in these cars.
Yeah, I think of these cars as more of an overpowered street stock, and it really shows that, when you take these things to a road course, they're a completely different beast. You have to manhandle these cars compared to the Cup cars. Oh, wow, just, man, all that smoke being kicked up just from people picking up that left rear is just, or left front is really insane. But
yeah, and the other thing is when you see that as a driver, you're hoping that you don't round the corner and are face first into another car. So yeah, there's a lot of trust involved that you're not gonna run into somebody when you see that smoke. So a lot of racetracks, Liam, especially at speedways in iRacing, you have to be careful when you see a cloud of smoke. Is that actual smoke that you have to be concerned about, or is it just a lockup? And here tonight, probably more lockup than not, is see Grunberg close in on Mike Stevens for a top 10 run.
Yeah, it's been about, I think it's been about a year since iRacing added that little puff of smoke thing. Usually just with the smoke system or something that causes a blink and kind of deceives people one time. Sometimes it causes a wreck or two from people overreacting to a spin. Oh, wow, the 02s are on Jeremiah.
Llewellyn is the car
Llewellyn.
that's gone around here. And let's see, this might be a very similar situation what we saw with the 11 of Skylar Nitzel. Drives off into the corner here, a little bit hot now, just loops it on entry. The car might be a bit loose, spins it around backward, and who was that? I think that was Corey Lindsay that just squeezed on by.
It looks like too much front brake in that car. It just caused him to lock it up, and unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. But a lot of things at James Miller's car, I actually noticed with how bright those rear brakes are. He actually has probably a good bit of rear brake in that car to try to stable the car out and try to brake a little bit later into entry.
Yeah, so again, the brake bias adjustment is something that drivers can use to sort of aid mostly corner entry handling characteristics, and generally you'd want to have as much rear bias as possible because it gives you the higher peak braking force. The problem with moving the brake bias to the rear is it also creates a lot of instability. So it's a trade-off between how fast you want to stop and how in control you want to be. And basically, the more out of control and faster you want to stop, the more rear brake you crank into it. But it's certainly something that you're going to have to play with tonight. There is the 20 car of Brady Smith. He'll relinquish to spot 12th to Donovan Smith as Michael Goodman has a look, smells the blood in the water. Race Clark off track up the road here just a little bit.
Yeah, Race Clark not having a great run here. Matt Grunberg with an impressive climb forward. Actually, no, Race Clark only drops to 10th, so Matt Gruenberg, all the way from 21st to 9th, he's been making quick work here. Doesn't look like he's going to have enough to catch James Miller, as James Miller has pulled 3 seconds on Eisen just about. But
Gruenberg is 19 seconds back from James Miller, so there's no way that he'll catch Miller in this race, but he certainly could get a top 5, and that's absurdly insane considering how tight this racetrack is, how many cars we have on it. But it's been fun to watch so far. Some minor incidents. See Gruenberg kind of all over the back of Richard Hines here. Up in 3rd place, Nick Boyd goes up the inside of Jeffrey Fisher for that P3 spot, and Boyd slips, but he hangs on.
Yeah, I thought Jeffrey Fisher was going to go for the overtake there, going back into that corner, but he'll think better of it, and he'll just get in behind the 74 car and try to make something happen later on.
I really also enjoy this period correct livery with the Blockbuster video. I think that's really cool. So Boyd drives up into P3. Looking back deeper in the field, there's Nick Miller and Jordan McEvoy side by side. We saw earlier McEvoy get into the back of his teammate in turn number 3, and now he's battling with Nick Miller. So I wonder if that damage has hurt him or if he's just struggling on the road course tonight. I've never really thought of Jordan McEvoy as a road racer, and maybe tonight he's sort of agreeing with me on that. It seems like he's struggling just a bit.
Yeah, his other 3 teammates seem to be really good at it, so maybe he has to get a little bit more assistance from them on as far as trying to master this road course thing with these stock cars. Obviously a completely different beast with this car compared to pretty much any other stock car. You see with the Xfinity cars in fuel, you see those 3 guys that are really good, but this is a completely different beast with how you have to, like you said, you have to heel toe pretty much every downshift and upshift.
Looking up the road, Brady Smith has been dropping backwards. He had a great qualifying effort that put him in 12th. He's dropped 1 spot and sort of stayed here, but he's starting to run way slower lap times. Have a look here. His last time was a 1:03.118. That was 2 seconds off the race leader as we go back to that battle with McEvoy and Miller. So maybe the 20 car is having some issues right now as Alex Boyd runs a little wide, and here comes the 22 of Race Clark to try to grab a spot back.
Yeah, that 20 car is running significantly slower, about a whole 2 seconds slower than everyone else. It's pretty amazing to see how much, the parity between the mid-pack and the leader, like even the mid-pack is just so much in a different zip code compared to that 09 car.
So we're only 10 minutes in, about a third of the way through this race, and James Miller's lead is sort of equalized out at 2.2 seconds over Drew Eisenman. Then it's Nick Boyd, Jeff Fisher, Justin Kolb, 3 through 5th. And then it's some pretty tight battles through the rest of the field. Again, I'm watching the 44 as he closes right to the tailpipes of the number 20. He's been trying to make this pass for a little while now, has an opportunity and a run, but has to back out, couldn't get alongside.
Yeah, he's going to think better of going for the spot here. He'll just get back in line behind this 20 car. This 20 car has been struggling big time during this run. Michael's going to go for the pass here. A little tight there. And that 20 is going to have the better line going into this corner. No, he's going to let him have it. So 20 thinks better of it. He'll live to race another day.
Here's Gruenberg up into 6th place past Sam Close, and he moves on through. And the number 54 way late on the brakes. Can he get it woed down? Certainly can. And I think smoothness here is helping Matt Gruenberg. Again, you mentioned wrestling these beasts earlier, and you can certainly do that, but I feel like it's almost easier to kind of drive slow to go fast and not overheat your tires. It looks like Gruenberg has just been so smooth that he's not upsetting this chassis to the point where he's burning tires and brakes off the car. So continues his climb forward and doing it looking like he's driving a Cadillac out there.
He's not losing too much time with James Miller. I mean, we checked back maybe, I want to say 3 or 4 laps ago. He was 19 seconds back. He's only fallen off another second, so he's running some of the quickest lap times on track, and he may be able to catch Justin Kolb if he can get hit his marks and everything and get some good laps in.
Tanner Sharp, we haven't really talked about him yet tonight. He started back in 25th. He's only up to 19th. You see the right side damage on that car, so he's been into either another competitor or the wall. And it doesn't look super great either. And while he has been moving forward, it doesn't look like he's going to get that much farther. I also, again, another period correct scheme we're seeing on this 3 car this week, which looks really good. But I think he'll be looking forward to the next week when we head to a more traditional racetrack. And 1 week from now, we'll be headed to Indianapolis. So I think for Tanner Sharp and a lot of the oval drivers, they're looking forward to going back to a place that they know and understand.
Yeah, a lot of the oval guys certainly are really happy about this. Pit stops, maybe.
This was Corey Lindsay, and he had just spun the car out, I believe, and or maybe not. He came.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
There he goes. Into the bus stop? We are not running the bus stop, Leo.
Thank God, it would be a lot worse if we
geez.
were.
Yeah.
Mike Stevens has also come on down, but I don't think we would not, obviously not expect pit stops in just a 30-minute race. So here's Race Clark having a look at Sam Close. Closes in pretty deep, runs a tad wide. And just behind them, a pretty good battle going on as well. Donovan Smith, Alex Boyd. So a few to keep your eyes on here as we head down the backstretch.
Something I noticed is like you can get away with taking a little bit of a wider entry into the corner, or maybe missing the corner a little bit, and you'll get that good run off as the guy on the inside can't really gas it up. Well, Race Clark makes a really bad example of that. But,
they always prove you wrong right when you're talking about it. That's the frustrating thing about it. As we go back to Alex Boyd, Donovan Smith, they've separated themselves out. Now up front, James Miller continues to lead this race by 2.7 seconds over Drew Eisenman. He continues to eke out ahead, but now some lap traffic to contend with. That's Brent Miller. He'll pull over to the right. He won't be any concern.
Beautiful livery on that 89 car, I gotta say.
Yeah, I have not gotten a good look at it here, so let's have a look at the 89. And yeah, good. 5-star. And red, white, and blue on that car looks pretty good as he works through the final corner. He is now the first car, actually make that the second car lap down, as Tanner Sharp has just hit pit lane. He is down there for tires as well, which is weird. But in the pit box.
Kind of scratching my head at this. Maybe 30 laps is pushing it a little bit on fuel.
No, I think he made a mistake here.
Yeah, that is definitely way past the...
Yep, right here.
Pit, yeah, that is way past the pit road entry.
Yes. So he will call it a day there, frustrated with the way things are going right now. Brady Smith and Nick Miller battling for what would be 14th spot on the racetrack now. And as cars continue to drop out, these points become very valuable. 2 races in one tonight. Well, I guess 2 races in 2 races. 2 races in one night is probably what I was trying to say. Points are very valuable tonight. If you can get 2 good finishes, this puts you 2 races ahead of everyone else in the championship. So I would certainly be focused on finishing these out at the very least, not necessarily just having a bad one and then gearing up for the second. I would fight for every position I can because of how important this race will be in the championship.
Yeah, I gotta say, every single point is, it really matters in the grand scheme of things. So if you think you're out of it, you just gotta keep pushing because, you know, you never know if, like, you know, James Miller or Drew Eisenman or Matt Grunberg have a mistake or have some misfortune. They finish 32nd or 30th or wherever it may be, and you could be back in it.
Trouble.
Oh, wow.
There's a car turned around. I think that's Skylar Nissel. Yeah, it is at the exit of turn number 1. Let's go back and have a look at exactly how he got himself in that position. Just sailed the car down into turn number 1, tried to over-rotate here and just ran off.
Yeah, it's been a rough go-around for Skyler for this race. Oh,
woo,
Jeffrey Fisher, wow.
4th place runner.
Looks like the 11 car, when he got caught by that car, he probably pretty much went straight and instead of you know, trying to straighten out the car and get it back going. So kudos to Skyler for not getting in the leader's way there. Obviously, not the ideal situation to be in where you're running the car off the track. Been a rough race for Skyler, but they're getting a top 20 out of this. Not too bad for them. I believe there's 25 cars entered in this race, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 25 cars have entered, and we still have 21 on the racetrack. We have Tanner Sharp, Mike Stevens off the racetrack, Cameron Rich out, and Levi Zielinski never took the greens. That's where we're at with entries right now. And it looks like Race Clark has had issues in the number 22. That would be the final corner for him. Here's a look at what just happened here. Charged the final corner too hot. Yeah, he was already sideways getting in and just couldn't quite hang on to it. And nothing to catch you other than the rear tires going out in the dirt. So he spun that car back around, only lost a few spots, but it's been a little troublesome for some drivers out there, not necessarily from contact that we were expecting, just from over driving corners and getting in too hot.
Yeah, impressive recovery there for Race Clark. I thought for sure he's going to, you know, at least lose, you know, 10 or 15 seconds there, but he got it back going right away. So impressive by Race Clark. I thought he was going to stall the car or something and knock it out of gear, but impressive recovery. Oh, Drew Eisenman on pit road. Maybe you do have to make a pit stop.
Yeah, I'm sort of surprised. I would think you could go to the end here, but maybe 30 minutes is stretching it just a touch, and he'll come hit pit road here, and I would think you just do a splash and dash here. I'm not sure you'd take tires at all, but it looks like he's going to have the left sides go up on the jack. I don't understand this. Maybe I'm not understanding the fuel economy situation very well here, Liam, but I feel like 30 minutes is a pretty short race, all things considered, but maybe I'm not right.
want to say it's a pretty decent sized track, so maybe, I don't know.
This is weird because you're not spending any time on throttle here. You're off throttle for about 80% of the lap. So he'll get right back out on track and runs 11th right now and pushes the 87 of Richard Hines out wide. That will give the lead of James Miller another couple seconds of advantage. He leads now by 10.1 seconds. Then it's another 3 back to find Jeffrey Fisher in 3rd. Then Justin Kolb in 4th. Matt Grunberg, who now holds the top 5 position.
Yeah, impressive drive up through the field from Matt Grunberg. Obviously can go for more with this 52 car. He's been running some really good laps. I believe he's still only around 21 seconds back, 22 seconds. And he's been putting down some really good laps, almost equivalent with James Miller. Another car having a really solid run is the 74 Boyd. He's been, I believe this would be his career best finish if he finishes where he is right now.
Running in 2nd after starting in 4th, and it would certainly be a good night as he continues to hustle that car forward, and he's not running lap times that will keep him in this spot, with Jeffrey Fisher reeling him in 7/10 faster last time by, but certainly give it his all here and see if he can wrap up a 2nd or even a 3rd place would be a great run for him with 12 minutes to go. Getting down to the last 12 or 13 laps of this thing, Donovan Smith has just had a big issue at the exit of turn 1. There was some significant damage to that car. Here's a look. Gonna get on the curb on exit and smack the hay bales. That's a pretty sizable impact.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it did too much damage to his car. It doesn't really look like it. These cars are pretty much tanks with this, lacking the new damage model. Hopefully we get that soon with these cars. I believe these cars will be a...
Nick Boyd has just dropped off the timing screen, as has Alex Boyd. And my guess would be a power outage maybe. I would assume that they're sharing a similar environment as their father and son, so I think their internet just died, and unfortunately for Nick, we were just talking about maybe having the run of his career. Well, he's going to drop right out of the top 5, unfortunately, so move Fisher up to 2nd, then Kolb, Grunberg, and Eisenman. And you and I both know, Liam, hardware failures suck.
Yeah, I would know. Nick Boyd obviously not having he was having such a good run, doing everything right, and just out of his control, loses connection. Another car that would, or another person that would know really a lot about hardware failures is the 36 of Joshua Banks and the Outsiders, basically.
Well, the thing about Josh Banks is that he dropped out a couple times, but he would stay in and just blink all the time. It's almost more frustrating when you just drop after being so consistently online for almost every race. I don't think I've ever seen Nick and Alex drop out for internet issues. So that's the frustrating thing, is when it happens randomly and you don't expect it. If you're expecting it, it's a little bit less frustrating, I think.
Yeah, if you have a storm, you probably have a good something in the back of your head reminding you, okay, power could go out here, and usually it always happens when you don't expect it to happen. So really unfortunate. Could have been a flicker in the power. So I mean, hopefully they can get in the 2nd race here and have a really strong showing. But obviously, the 74 car, hoping for a really good run, gonna have to wait for next.
Sam Close in the number 5 was wheeling it at the exit of turn 1. Race Clark chasing him down, and you mentioned the 2nd race being able to come back from it. Well, that's an advantage to a couple drivers, including Corey Lindsay and Tanner Sharp, who both crashed out, as well as Mike Stevens, and guys like Skylar Nissel, who've had a couple loops. You get a second chance tonight, but the frustrating thing for some of these drivers is that they're probably, at least a few of them, will have issues in the 2nd race as well, just the way things shake out. So you can either rebound or continue your bad night. It's all about how you change your mindset going into that 2nd race here in just a little bit. With 9 minutes to go, there's a battle shaping up for 8th place. That would be Donovan Smith and Richard Hines, as well as behind them for 10th, Goodman and Miller as they head down the back straightaway.
Yeah, the good battle going on here. Looks like that car behind them, Richard Hines, trying to get on that one car to try to get the spot away. Richard Hines, a pretty decent road racer. I've raced him in Elite, and I've seen him run pretty well there. Obviously one of the dark horse guys. Obviously not to the level of James Miller, but maybe through some misfortune he can find himself getting a top 5 or maybe a top 3.
Into the hairpin here for turn number 3 with 8.5 minutes to go now. James Miller leads this race by 7.5 seconds, and the only driver that I've seen hit pit lane to return to the racetrack would be the 77 of Drew Eisenman. And I'm not exactly sure, as we saw a car off on the inside, that was Jeremiah Llewellyn with issues. I'm still not exactly sure why we saw that 77 hit pit lane. If everyone else still stays out on the racetrack here, Liam, I'd have to think we're good to the end. But again, maybe they're waiting to the end of the race to make that stop. I don't know why you would do that, but maybe they just don't know yet.
Yeah, maybe James Miller's probably trying to save a little bit up here. I mean, he can definitely afford to do that. Maybe not too much on Jeffrey Fisher. Jeffrey Fisher has been running some pretty solid lap times. I'm not sure what team this is, but they're looking at a 1-2-3. If Gruenberg can catch Kolb, he's only, wow, Gruenberg has cut down that gap by, I want to say 6 seconds on James Miller. We were talking about him being 21, 22 seconds back. He's only 15 back.
Yeah, and that's an impressive climb, and it's really no surprise for Matt Gruenberg, and he gets a lot of enjoyment out of driving through the field, and that's sort of why he starts out back there. He could qualify up front, but it just wouldn't be as much fun for him. He likes to kind of carve through the field. Now, he knows when he does that he's sort of putting himself on, in a troublesome spot. He's kind of coming from the back foot all the time. But I think having a smile on your face is kind of half the fun here. And for Gruenberg now, he's got Drew Eisenman, who might have, well, he does have fresh tires on, so maybe that's the play that Eisenman's trying to roll with here. I'm not convinced that that's the play to make, but maybe it was not for fuel and more for tires to see if that strategy would work out.
Yeah, definitely the 77's trying to make some stuff happen on this car. Actually, well, he's making a pretty impressive climb forward.
Yeah, 2 seconds a lap. Now, if he continues at this pace, he would get there. I just don't know if he'd have time to pass. And that assumes that everything stays as it is now. But maybe tires is the call. That would be the craziest call of the race for Eisenman. Come on down, take tires, and drive all the way back through the field to get back to James Miller. I don't see that happening yet as we hit about 5 laps to go next time by. But certainly worth a shot, I think, if you're Eisenman.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Oh, the 32 off. Ooh, James is going to have to take a little bit of caution there, and that's definitely going to help that 77 car. He's only 15.2 back, and got to wait for intervals up there. I'm not sure if the intervals are too happy with this track and this car combination, but I wouldn't be surprised if they aren't. Andrew Eisenman up to 3rd, and he's cut down 4/10 in that sector.
Heard someone go for a loop, and Alex Boyd has returned to the racetrack. He's gotten loaded back in. Nick Boyd not there yet, and getting out of the racetrack without getting in the way is challenging with the track so full of competitors right now. As we hit 5 minutes to go, and Justin Kolb has just relinquished 3rd spot to Drew Eisenman, who continues to make up about 1.5 seconds a lap on the race leader, but he's still 14 seconds back with 5 minutes to go. He's going to have to be making up a whole lot more than just 1 second or 2 a lap. He's got to get maybe 3 to get there in time now. With this time it will be 5 laps to go.
Yeah, if you're Drew Eisenman right now, you are pushing as hard as you can to try to catch this 09 car, especially with that lap car helping you a little bit. Another 2 seconds off this lap, and oh wow, that car behind him, the 52 car, trips it really hard. But Drew Eisenman going to go for the pass on the 02 car. Well, going to put him a lap down for his part, but got a feel for Nick Boyd right now.
Car in the background, the 52.
Wow. Oh, no.
Justin Kolb, he's found his way off the racetrack. He'll get back rolling. He'll just lose a few spots. Now, for Drew Eisenman, maybe the goal here isn't, I don't know if winning was ever going to happen, but you know what he very much has the possibility of doing is getting back to Jeffrey Fisher. If he passes Jeffrey Fisher, this was a no-loss move here. He would have gotten back to 2nd, which is where he was running before the pit stop. So I can't say that this really did him a whole lot of good, but it certainly didn't do him bad, or at least it won't if he can pass this 98 car in 2nd.
Well, you could just say it's for bragging rights. If he gets by this 98 car, say, hey, I just passed everybody again. So, but this 77 car having a really strong run, and if anyone can chase down James Miller, it's got to be this guy right here in this car.
I think you just need more time. 4 minutes to go now for Miller. It's 3 laps next time at the stripe. Eisenman chucks it in hard into turn 1. He needs to make up as much ground as possible to make this worth doing. There's Nick Miller and Race Clark. This is a battle for position for 9th spot. Clark gets a great run here on the back straightaway, side by side on the backstretch now, and Clark will try to chuck it down in here and get the pass done. Miller will have to relinquish it.
Yeah, Nick Miller is going to let this 22 car by, and Race Clark, he's been around a lot, and unfortunately, it's not been of his own doing. He's just been having a really tough go at it throughout this race, and unfortunately, he's going to have to settle back for this spot right here. But Race Clark just doing everything he can to try to get it. What could have been a top 5 finish, unfortunately, going to be relegated to 9th.
There's Jeff Fisher again, second place right now. Drew Eisenman has reeled this gap down to 2.5 seconds. There he is in the white and black Ford Thunder Chicken as he heads by the 32 car of Dustin Dewar into turn number 1. I'm very confident Eisenman can get back to second. He will not get to the race leader unless Miller makes a mistake. But again, a zero-sum gain for Drew Eisenman. Didn't really gain a lot, didn't really lose a lot here. I'm just not exactly convinced that I would think that he lost more. He lost time, but he didn't lose any positions as soon as he passes this 98 car. So still not exactly sure if this was a strategy to play, but it made it interesting, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely been a interesting go at it for Drew Eisenman here. Maybe he just thought of it as a last chance opportunity to try to chase down James Miller. Maybe he didn't take fuel to try to get a little bit extra fuel and a little bit more grip on this car. But yeah, it's been really interesting to see the 77 climb through the field, and he's definitely going to get this 98 car.
Into the final corner, there's the 98, there's the 77. Drag race back to 3 laps to go for this group of cars, and a big slide out of the final corner up and over the curbing onto the runoff area. And it's just a matter of time now. For James Miller, it's 9.5 seconds up the road. He'll be coming to 2 laps left at this tiny 2-kilometer circuit in Japan. And Eisenman going to close in big time in the braking zones here. Getting there is one thing, passing's another. And even with the tire differential, he's been hooning this thing hard, so I'm not sure he'll have a huge advantage here. So he might have to work harder than he had before to get these passes done. But Hail Mary will certainly do it with 2 to go.
Yeah, Jeffrey Fisher definitely not making it really easy on that 77 car. Jeffrey's going to take a defensive line in this corner. The 77's going to try to get the center turn there, and the 98's going to try to gas it up, and they're going to be side by side going into here. It looks like Jeffrey's going to give it up here.
Yeah, and Eisenman just had so much more mid-corner grip than the 98 did, so he was able to complete that pass. For the race leader, for James Miller, the white flag is out. It is the final lap here. No, I don't feel like that's correct. I feel like it's 2 to go. I think the timing is a little bit confused, so I'm not going to throw the white until we see it. Next time by should be the white flag. These really tiny tracks like this, iRacing can get, or at least ATVO can get confused as to the lap time predictions. So Miller is all on his own. Eisenman, he's gotten through Fisher and pulled a gap now, 1.1 seconds. And nobody else really close at the moment making positions here. There are 11 cars on the lead lap. Again, this is our first of 2 of these races tonight. One more 30-minute round here at the conclusion of this race.
Yeah, if iRacing's confused or ATVO is confused right now, it wouldn't be the first time this week it's been confused, but unfortunately, maybe James Miller has to have another lap to try to hang on to this win on the 77 car, but perhaps this is it. We're going to see a checkered flag being waved by the flag.
This should be white this time. Yes, white flag now as we come across the stripe. And final lap here from Tsukuba for James Miller in race number 1 of this 2-race evening. Closest battle right now is Michael Goodman in the 44, the 20 of Brady Smith, and the 27 of Jonathan Cogswell as they head into turn number 3 behind the race leader by 1 lap. They're still coming to the checkers.
And a little bit of a tussle going on here between the 20 and 27. Looks like the 20 is going to hang on for now, but back up front to James Miller. He's going to come off this corner, and he has probably the easiest corner on the entire racetrack left. And he's going to, besides the last turn, but the 09 is going to come through the second to last corner. He's going to go onto this long straightaway, and he sees that checkered flag in sight.
Big bubble behind him, the 44. Wow. Big slide there as the 27 goes middle, 3 wide. He'll take 2 positions in 1 fell swoop as the checkered falls for James Miller. Final corner and dominant performance. Every lap led. He'll pick up the checkered flag. And for the 44 of Goodman and the 20 of Brady Smith, they're going to battle all the way back to the checkers with the 27 of Cogswell to the stripe. Cogswell will grab 12th spot and make that 11th spot as they come on through. That was a heck of a drive by the number 27, and off into turn 1, he'll drive it into the hay bales there. Whoo, boy, that was wild. Let's go have a quick look at that before we cut to break to load up the second second race of the evening. Here is a look again at the mistake by the 44 and the 20. And just a bobble by the 44. It made the 20 juke to the right, and then the 27 just throttles up and goes right through the middle. Great drive there for Cogswell. He'll pick up 12th spot here. Here's a quick look at our race results before we cut to break and bring you the second race of the evening, another 30-minute round from Tsukuba. Hang with us.
Would you like to have a career in racing, and if so, what would you like to do, Dale?
Well, I want to be a race car driver someday. That's, it's all I've ever known, racing.
What did you want to be when you grew up? So many people live a life of what if. Go to school, go to college, get a 9-to-5. This is how we support our dreams, with a safety net. Because we're unsure about taking a leap of faith. Because we're afraid. As we grow, we cross things off our list of dreams. We cut them down, make them realistic. Having control of things is reassuring. But for some, the rush of being out of control is what gives them life. Some say racing cars is reckless. Maybe they're right. Out of bounds isn't just cheating, it's cheating death. Football fields made up in seconds. Decisions made in instants. For the people that climb behind the wheel of these cars, they're not driving it. They become part of it. It's an extension of the body. As a child, I looked up to these people, faces hidden by helmets. The less you saw of the driver, the more believable it became that they were, in fact, just part of the machine. It's easy to forget that inside the cockpit is someone just like us, but with the mindset that fear is a motivation, not a barrier. But the reality is, race car drivers are not like us. They never cross anything off their list of dreams. They just keep writing more. Daytona.
This is the finish of the Daytona 500. Side by side.
Le Mans. Indianapolis. Monaco. Places that used to be just places, now international symbols of victory. To those that enjoy the spectacle of racing, the 2 feet of concrete and steel cables are a wall between us and them, between sitting in the grandstands and standing in victory lane. These same walls are a stark, immovable reminder that racing drivers put their lives on the line for the sake of the thrill and entertainment. Despite the risk, despite the heartbreak, despite the cost. There are some on the sidelines who are fascinated by the danger. They are fascinated by speed, fascinated by the undying desire to be just a little bit better. Their dreams erased by geography, finances, or the lack of a famous last name. There are some who once wished to be a race car driver, but aren't, because they didn't get the chance. And they thought they'd spend the rest of their lives watching their heroes on television, or from the other side of the fence. They thought it was impossible to climb into a race car, so they crossed it off their list.
Welcome back live to Sim TV and the 3-Wide Racing League Cold Hard Art Cup Series. We're here at Tsukuba tonight for the second of 2 back-to-back doubleheader races from this tiny little 2-kilometer short track here in Japan. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Liam Sheen tonight. In our first race of the evening, it was all a story of James Miller out front of the 09, led from flag to flag. But the 54 of Matt Gruenberg certainly put up a good fight. A handful of drivers would like a second chance.
Yeah, definitely one of those that's looking for redemption here as we get the checkered flag in this session. So thankfully we're not doing 45 minutes of practice. But one car that's looking for redemption is the 74 of Nick Boyd, and I'm pretty sure it's set by a new qualifying session here. So we're going to see what Nick Boyd can do, and maybe he can try to get the pole.
Yeah, again, Nick and Alex Boyd had an internet dropout during the previous race. They're looking to kind of get a second chance, new lease on life here after dropping out of the first race. Nick was running in third, or actually make that, I think it was in second place at the time. So trying to have his fortune turn around here just a little bit. While we're sitting here, we just got qualifying going on, so we'll show you what's going on. But you can follow along at live timing at simtvbroadcasting.com/timing. Talk a little bit about my weekend. I was out, it seems like every week I got a new story, Liam, but this time out at Circuit of the Americas for GT World Challenge America. I didn't know that there was a lot of tracks on this year that I knew I was going to, and Road America I knew I was going to for World Challenge, as well as Sonoma, but COTA was not one that I originally planned to go to, so that was a really cool one. And it's a racetrack I feel like a lot of people don't appreciate in a sim environment, but I can tell you after going there that anything I had left over about any dislike I had left over on the racetrack, once I went out there in person, I go, you know what, this really is not, it's not only is it not bad, it's actually quite enjoyable. So that was a really cool experience, and just the most beautiful, not only racetrack, but the most beautiful event venue, I think, in terms of the building and the accommodations that I've ever been to. So that was really cool. And thanks again to SRO America for having me out there. But Liam, COTA, certainly, I would love to see it on a NASCAR schedule. I think it'd be a great place.
Yeah, definitely. We had some people, a little unsure about that, but, those people can't test in iRacing. They know who they are, but it's going to be it'll be really awesome to see, COTA on the Cup schedule if it does happen. And I think it would be putting on a great show, especially with the, new teams coming into NASCAR with how much more competitive the field is going to be next year. And certainly may have some of those road guys try to shine.
So I think they sort of announced today that the All-Star race is going to Texas for next year, but they are removing a points race. That sort of opens the opportunity for NASCAR to go to COTA. And of the several layouts that COTA has, there was some discussion earlier in our Discord, which you can join in the description. You can sort of imagine that there's that discussion of which layout would you like to see them run. And I always thought the West course was cool, but I don't know. I think the full course is the way to roll with the Cup cars. I think you need to let them breathe a little bit on those straightaways.
Yeah, it's going to be it'll be a great show for sure. And probably some straightaways you should be able to do flat out. I did a few laps here in iRacing. I want to say maybe a month or two ago. Just for jollies, and it was certainly interesting to say the least. But there's some sections where you should be able to hold it flat out if you're able to get a good set underneath you. Obviously, the 50 Rick Ware cars that are probably going to be racing are probably going to be half throttle the whole entire time. So it's going to be interesting to see those Cup cars tame that big track. Probably the historic. It's one of the newest tracks built, I want to say, on iRacing, and compared to the real life build.
Yeah, I think COTA was made, the track was built in 2012. I think it was released in iRacing in 2013 or 14. So it's been around in iRacing for a little while. I just had to laugh. I was just texting one of my buddies, Joel, who was sort of the one responsible for getting me into racing, and he was talking about the Bubba Wallace and Denny Hamlin news that just came out. And if you haven't heard about that, it's pretty big news. I sort of had to laugh. He goes, "Have you ever heard of a driver owning a team in Cup and driving for a different team in Cup? I'm surprised NASCAR had no conflict of interest thoughts." I'm going, what about Dale Earnhart? DEI. I just had to laugh at that. I thought that was funny. He goes, "Oh yeah." So it's definitely not unprecedented. It's just this is definitely an interesting transgression newsworthy information for once out of the NASCAR camp this year. So even with Ross Chastain jumping into the 42, it seems like there's a lot of people getting shuffled for next year in a good way.
Yeah, maybe some not in such a good way. You got De Benedetto still up in the air for next year. Hopefully Cindric doesn't take that ride just yet. Maybe he gets another year to try to win a race or two with, Wood Brothers and everything. But, it's been a really interesting, silly season. If you told me last year that Bubba Wallace is going to be leaving Richard Petty to drive for Michael Jordan, I would probably call you crazy.
That's just a perfect 2020 headline right there when you put it like that. That's pretty good stuff. But this year has been a really weird year in so many different ways, and we are at SimTV. We've had kind of a weird year too. The first half of the year went amazingly well. The second half has been sort of an exercise in frustration, trying to balance this versus my real world opportunities. But you'll find out more about what's happening here in the next couple months here on SimTV. We're trying to slim down just a little bit, just so it's more manageable for me to keep the quality where it should be. And I think we're going to have a pretty good winter and into next year. So keep your eye out. We're not going anywhere long term. We'll still be around, just probably reduce what we're doing just down to a more manageable level. So if you want to keep an eye on what we're doing, make sure you join our Discord, or you can check out our website, simtvbroadcasting.com. Again, you can go ahead there for live timing. Right now, Liam, we've got 30 laps on our hands again, and it will be a 30-lap race, but is there anybody that can take down James Miller? Look at that 74, putting it on pole.
Yeah, I would probably think it would be Nick Boyd, who's, maybe he wasn't, too familiar with the track in practice, but once he got some laps under his belt, under a race condition, he's probably able to, get some good laps going. So, hopefully his internet hangs on, or not, or whatever it was, maybe power outage. Probably sounded more like a power problem, because that came back really quick for the 10 car. So perhaps his power or internet will hang on for this race, and maybe Nick Boyd can try to steal his first one of, I think it would be his 3-wide career. I'm not too sure what his best career finish is this far, though.
Absolutely. So cars getting rolling here. Have a quick look at our weather information. Airtime 78, track is 82. Nice warm evening here in Japan for 30 minutes of racing at this 2-kilometer little bull ring. Over 22 drivers lined up to go for 30 minutes at Tsukuba. You're watching SimTV. My name's Kyle Heyer, joined by Liam Sheen as the field comes out of turn number 12. Green flag about to fly, and we're racing again from Tsukuba. Green flag in the air, 30 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, and don't look too far back to see Drew Eisenman in that third spot. He's not going to go for the challenge on the 74, despite looking like he was going to do it. The 74 is going to be taking the top spot away. Oh, no, they're going to be side by side going into here. This has been the closest battle for the lead all night, and that 74 is going to try to dog fight that 09. He's going to be really tight on there. 77 is going to go for the pass here as they lift that left front tire. That's 09 is going to try to drive away. The 77 is going to put the attack on the 74. A little bit of a checkup midfield. The 77's off.
Nick Boyd is on through, and all those drivers picking up those left side tires. It's hard to steer when you only got one of your steerable tires on the ground. Matt Grunberg, big slide into the hairpin here as Jeff Fisher takes a look, and there's contact. Grunberg off the racetrack to driver's right. He'll get back rolling, but all that ground he made up is now lost as he has to charge his way back through the field. Look at Skylar Nissel in the background bobbling a little bit, but Miller out front again by a second and a half as Grunberg has to redo everything he already did.
Yeah, Grunberg back at square zero here. Obviously didn't get the good race one result that he wanted, and he's probably hoping for this race to do at least a few spots better, and unfortunately doesn't look like it's going to happen so far. That Nick Miller is having a really solid run here. Didn't really see him as necessarily a road course guy, but he's been running really well these two races.
Yeah, he came from the back in the first race and clawed his way forward. Didn't have an amazing finish as there's trouble as he goes off wide. And as we just said, that commentator curse, he'll lose. I don't think he actually lost his spot there, but he lost a lot of ground as he now has Jordan McEvoy all over him. And McEvoy is definitely a driver that did not have the race that he wanted in the first of the two.
And I actually thought there was an incident in front of everyone, but that's just everybody picking up that left front tire. It's just absurd how much they're picking up that tire. I thought there was going to be a wreck or, a few incidents there. But, Jordan McEvoy having a really solid run, not really backing up the next race, but more defining his night. And having a solid run inside the top 15, trying to break in the top 10.
Donovan Smith having a look up the inside of Race Clark, unable to complete that pass. Matt Grunberg tucks in behind. That's for 9th right now. We know Grunberg will come back forward, and the time is of the essence here because if you have a look here, he's behind about 7 seconds from the race leader. Now, he made that up in one go last race alone, but he's got to get rolling now before he loses too much more time. There's Richard Hines off track in turn number 1. I think he just had a bit of a bobble here, and it's so easy to do. On the brakes, Nissel, and he just charges in too hot, locks up the fronts, and finds a way to surf through the grass.
Yeah, top 10 last race. It doesn't look like it's going to be backed up this race with a nice result here. I believe he cycled out all the way in 20 seconds, so not a good start for the 87 Richard Hines, but back up front, Nick Boyd has been running pretty equivalent lap times with James Miller. That's only the gap. I expected it to be a little bit more, and Nick Boyd not letting him out of his sights.
He is a man on a mission right now. Last time by was a couple thousandths quicker. Corey Lindsay has had another issue, and he'll hit pit lane again. This is the second time tonight that this has happened to him. Race 1 did the same thing. Too hot on the far side. This is the same place I think he had issues as well. It goes off the racetrack, calls it quits. Day and night over for Corey Lindsay.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Corey Lindsay. 2 trips through the bus stop in one night where we're not running that configuration is definitely not a night you want to have here at this pretty strange track with these cars. It's just strange to see these things run this track. It's just such a small track, but man, is it providing some great racing.
Well, you know, usually when you're running a road course, if you're on a part of the road course that has cones across it, you probably shouldn't be on it. And unfortunately, we've seen a couple of drivers experiment with different layout configurations here tonight. But road racing and stock cars are two things that go together very, very well. And, you know, leagues get creative sometimes, and they'll throw certain road courses on the schedule, but this is not one that I can honestly say has ever popped up even as to consider for stock car racing. We've seen Lime Rock before a handful of times, and I thought that was small. This is a whole other ball game here.
Yeah, I thought even SimLab going here with the Jettas and the MX-5s was a little chaotic, but this is seriously a chaotic race. Wow, you see these guys pretty much picking up those front tires. It's really contributing to these guys with the understeer. You see the 22, he goes into this corner, and everything loads onto the right side of the car, picks up that tire, almost picks up 2 tires there. Man, he almost 2-wheels it off that corner there. I think that's contributing to people losing control of their cars, definitely.
Gosh, this is one of the coolest shots of the year, I think. If we could have moments of the year, that might be one of them. Just such a cool shot through the smoke with the left sides off the ground as he comes out of the hairpin and heads down the back straightaway. Cool climb up the hill for Race Clark as we come on through. 5 minutes into this race, feel like we've been in it for 15 or 20. As we come on through, and Brent Miller in the 89s had issues. That's the final corner for him. And Mike Stevens, Race Clark. And Mike Stevens having a great night here in race number 2. Look at him up in 5th.
Yeah, I was trying not to say anything because it seems like every single time I've given an attaboy to us, pretty much any driver tonight, they've gone off. So really solid run from Mike Stevens. Hopefully it stays as a nice run here. Started 5th, hasn't lost any spots, and I believe this would be the better of his 2 finishes here tonight. Locks it up a little bit, but he keeps it going. And Race Clark trying to bounce.
This might be a career finish if he finishes here tonight. So, whoa, big slide for the 22 as he comes over on driver's right. Has a look now down the inside as they head to the braking zone. Race Clark's going to sail off in there. Can he keep the car tucked? He does for now. Stevens comes back over right in front of Grunberg as the 54 launches an attack.
Yeah, and I thought Grunberg was going to easily finish outside the top 5, but he's in the position to just take it in this next lap alone. So Grunberg, he qualified, but he decided, you know what, I want to charge through the field again. Here he is again, trying to get up in the top 4, top 5.
All right, as we come out of the hairpin now, we'll head up to second place. Drew Eisenman's gotten through Nick Boyd. And Eisenman didn't get a chance to pass James Miller last time, but he certainly tried a different strategy. Do you think that he'll do the same thing this time, Liam? Or do you think he'll try to just stay out there and run what James Miller's running?
I think try to do it a little bit earlier, try to get a little bit more time while keeping a closer gap. I want to say his strategy could have worked if he just did it a little bit more aggressively. If he was a little bit more aggressive now and try to catch that 09 car, that 09 car would back off a little bit, mid-run like he did last time, and that would definitely open that door for the 77 to try to get that advantage on the 09 car.
Justin Dewar in the 32. He's got a rear mirror full. In the 20 of Brady Smith. Brady struggled a little bit in the last race. He ran sort of mid to back pack, but here he is in 13th now, looking to grab a spot back after he started this one in 10th. Justin Dewar in front of him. Jordan McKeeboy 3 seconds up the road from that. Skylar Nissel has kept the car pointed in the right direction this time tonight. And
Brent Miller around.
Oh, man. I'm trying to get a reference for where this is. This looks like it's at the exit of turn number 1.
Yeah, been a rough go around for this race as 89 has gone around a few times this race. It looks like he just throttles up too hard here, gets that tire in the grass, and there he goes.
Just kind of tags the left front. No big damage on that car. He'll be able to continue. Jeremiah Llewellyn has gone around. He's right in the middle of the racetrack, right in front of the 27. And that's a weird spot to crash. That's on entry to the corner. Here's a look at that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like everybody that we were talking about having like a really good run is just starting to get picked off one by one, and unfortunately the 02 car has gone around as well. But Race Clark, don't want to say this, but he's been having a really great race.
Yeah.
He's been having nothing against the race. I just don't want to jinx him. It seems like every single driver I've talked about has been jinxed by the commentator cursed. But the 54 is trying to run down this 22 car, and he hasn't been able to do it.
He's really trying to put the pressure on. Do we know also, this just popped in my head, do we know if that 3D grass is a thing anywhere yet?
I believe it was delayed. I didn't see anything in the patch notes, so maybe I think I saw something on the forums around build time where they said, yeah, we couldn't get it working yet. Yeah, that's obviously not 3D grass.
Yeah, I was just looking because I thought something looked weird around the edges of the track, and I was just there's this weird effect almost. Like these little black specks I'm seeing. It almost looks like they're trying to, like there's new bump mapping or something. Maybe it's just the shadows, but something weird is going on that I made me think twice about how the grass is done. But I'm sort of torn, Liam, about the 3D grass thing. I've always thought that iRacing's grass, while definitely 2D, is some of the better looking grass out there. I know there's other sims that try the 3D stuff, and it's never really looked real to me. It always looks too long and unkempt. I'd say the only sim that's done grass in a way that I think looks realistic is the new Flight Simulator.
Yeah, the Flight Simulator has been it's pretty much set a standard for pretty much any simulator out there, but I gotta say maybe the grass would be okay in some regions around the guardrails or something. Try to add a little bit of age to the track. If at the older tracks, oh wow, that car went wide up there, he keeps it under control. But say like a Monza or maybe a North Wilkesboro or something, towards the inside of the wall, or USA, maybe have some blades of grass that are pretty high up, like that would be in a lot of other sims, and probably would contribute to some realism. I don't think some sort of knee-high grass at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the infield wouldn't be too realistic.
Yeah, you see the 20 go by the 32 here for 12th. That's always the thing about racing sims, is that you go to a racetrack, they're not, it's not 6 foot tall grass. It's supposed to be real short, almost cut like golf courses. So I always thought iRacing's grass looked really good, and I didn't really see a need to change it. But always on a charge forward in technology. I just worry about the frame rate hit, really. That's all I'm concerned about as we continue to work through this race. Alex Boyd battling for 16th with Jonathan Cogswell. Nick Boyd in 3rd. Race Clark and Matt Grunberg still 5th, and Grunberg has been stuck here for a while. The urgency is climbing as he tries to work over the 22, but unable to get by.
Yeah, Race Clark put in the fight at that 54. I thought they were going to make contact coming out of that final corner, but they're going to keep it going straight. That 54 is probably fuming behind that helmet that he's not able to get by this 22 car. And if I'm Race Clark, I'm patting myself on the back that I'm able to hold off this guy that's been great pretty much everywhere.
And Grunberg, I think, just doesn't have it tonight. This is when I question his let's start at the back and have fun and just kind of run through the field. This is when I question that. It's the races that you can't get all the way back to the front. Is this costing you championships here? That's my concern for the 54 long term as we get near the halfway point of this race.
Yeah, you look back to last season, maybe one or two points is the difference. Oh wow,
that was close.
Wow, that was sketchy.
Oh boy.
Definitely, yeah. don't know what to say about that one, but
Oh,
the one goes around here.
Got the grass.
And
I think the problem is he was sort of already on the road.
Oh, yeah. It looked like he was just rolling already, and,
Yeah, he just sort of decided to finish it off. That was certainly close. I think that was it the 9 of Nick Miller? Yeah, here he comes. Watch this. Oh, it wasn't as close from the cockpit as I thought it would look, but everyone did a good job not turning that into a bigger issue than it was.
Well, if you're the one car in that scenario, it's better off to roll it off the track than to hold the brake and stay on the track and get clobbered. So, looked bad at first, but with some context, it's
yes,
a little
context
better.
is necessary a lot of times. James Miller out front, he could sweep this evening. Drew Eisenman sits second, about 2.5 seconds back. He has been unable to reel in the 09, but keeping him within striking distance. Closest battle on the racetrack right now would have to look all the way back to 15th to find Skylar Nissel, Alex Boyd, and Jonathan Cogswell all running in tight succession here.
Yeah, Jonathan Cogswell with a really solid run here tonight. I believe, he's running 17th. Not as well as I originally thought, but he's been running really well. I believe this is a pretty good run for him here, and he's going to go for the pass on this 10 car and take that spot back, go up to 16th for Jonathan Cogswell.
I think Jonathan would be the first one to admit that road courses are not his strong suit. So just keeping the car on the racetrack and having a result at all is, for some drivers, that feels like a win. And there are others that come here to expect to win. I would say James Miller would be one of those people. Cameron Rich should have been one of those people. Started off his night on the wrong foot and did not make it to the second race. Drew Eisenman, certainly a talented road racer. We've seen him battle up front, but it seems like Miller's just a tad too fast for him tonight. It's only a couple tenths a lap, but the 09 is pulling away just slightly. Grunberg's still stuck behind Ray Clark. Now he's not even putting pressure on him. I think the tires are gone on the 54.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of back-end damage there. That's probably not helping him at all, but those tires are probably screaming, get me off your car, for Matt Gruenberg, but that's unfortunate for Gruenberg. And yeah, going back to your point earlier, you probably have to question, maybe this isn't really good because, I believe it was 1 point that separated from him getting a championship, but Nick and Delicato stole that away. So you just got to think, maybe one race, 1 point could be the difference maker.
Well, this is one race and a whole lot more points than just one that Grunberg will be missing out on here as he tries to run down the 22. As we hit the halfway point of this race, 15 minutes to go, 15 laps to go at the line. Skylar Nissel, Jonathan Cogswell, side by side here as the 27 runs the 11 up the racetrack just a little bit. And now Alex Boyd smells the blood in the water and will swim towards his prey.
Yeah, any position better than last race, or pretty much any position would be pretty much way better than last race after that power outage for the Boyd family. So Alex Boyd trying to put the pressure on the 11. He's going to make he's clearly faster than the 11 and 27 car right now. He's just got to find a way to get around these two. But yeah, this 10 car has been really quick these past few laps.
Michael Goodman in the 44 is up the road from Dustin Dewar in the 32, who is, for the most part, stayed out of trouble tonight. And so has Michael Goodman, for that matter. And Goodman has been known in other series to just be in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's always caught up in somebody else's mess and rarely causes anything of his own. But tonight he's been doing a great job staying out of other people's messes and just having a good, consistent top 15 run. Maybe not quite as high up the order as he would like, but certainly keeping the fenders on the car, which is always important.
Yeah, Michael Goodman's one of the cleaner drivers in pretty much any league I've raced him in. I've raced him in Elite, and he's one of the cleanest drivers out there. I believe he still has 0 incident points, if I'm correct on that. But he's been running really well, and it's certainly translating to this car, where it's probably the hardest to drive on iRacing, arguably. As far as stock car stuff goes, I'm pretty sure there's other cars that are really hard to master and everything, but these cars are definitely a handful in of themselves.
Oh, up inside the top 5, Race Clark has damage. He's gone off the racetrack and will drop outside the top 5. Just gets into turn 1 too hot and just smacks the hay bales. And finally, Gruenberg gets on by. But for Race Clark, I'm curious as to how much damage that will cause. You see that left front struggling as bad as it was. Let's have a look when the car comes around the corner here, if we can get a better glance at the damage. And it's not insignificant, but I don't think it'll be too huge of a deal.
Yeah, well, you look at that shot, it makes it look way worse with how you can see that back of that tire when it's turning straight. So, yeah, that is That was a gnarly amount of damage there. Yeah, for Race Clark, looks like the pressure finally built up from Matt Gruenberg and finally made a mistake, and that's the thing. Maybe that's what Gruenberg did, is he's just waited for that 22 car to make a mistake there, and yeah, that's unfortunate.
I love my telestrator. If anybody wants to use this, by the way, this is my secret, and for those that are curious, this is the only time I will ever say this. It's a program called Zoom It, and you can download it, and it works on basically any program, anything, and you can just use it on your Windows desktop or whatever, and you can change colors and draw on all sorts of and draw shapes and things, and it's a pretty handy tool, and I enjoy using it. It's sort of fun to play with, and it requires a specific setup to use it right in this context, but it's certainly a nice thing to have around to help demonstrate things.
Yeah, definitely helps pointing stuff out, as Race Clark not having a really good race here tonight, and it was pretty well pointed out. Yeah, that's Race Clark right there. If you're wondering, in that 22 car, yeah, that's Race Clark, but he's not really having a good race. We can point that out a little bit more.
All right, less than 12 minutes to go now, as James Miller has extended his lead out to 4 seconds. Nick Boyd is now feeling pressure from Jeff Fisher. Here he is as they arc it in, and I think Nick overdrove that just a little bit. Will open the door for Jeffrey to stick the nose down here soon. The pressure is on. The sun's also going down. Track's cooling off. The grip is coming up, and for Fisher, time to attack.
Yeah, maybe that's Jeffrey Fisher's strong suit here. He's not too far behind the... well, no, he actually is. Never mind. But he's a good bit behind James Miller and Drew Eisenman. Drew Eisenman has lost a little bit of touch on that 09 car, but maybe that's the game plan for the 98. He's probably better at saving tires than he is burning them up, and this will definitely help him as we get to this colder section of the race.
Fisher through to third, Nick Boyd back to fourth. Now Matt Gruenberg is hunting down that yellow and blue 74, and Gruenberg has found another gear. He's not faster than the leader, but he is faster than everyone else in front of him. So with what we thought was going to be a poor finish for Gruenberg, maybe we shouldn't have spoken so soon. Still some time left in this race, about 10 laps worth of time to get up there and pass 2 more cars. Oh, trouble in front of him. There's a big pile up in front of these drivers as they head down into the hairpin. And who was that? I think it was the 89 of Brent Miller, was one of those 2 cars right in front of Nick Boyd.
Oh, that was certainly a close moment there for that 74. Unfortunately, loses another spot to that 54 car, but top 5, not a bad run for that 74. We should have a look back at what happened there. Brent Miller involved in another incident here tonight. That's not really the night that he wanted. Unfortunately, sloops it around. 02 car, gets by unscathed, but here comes the 89, just tries to get back on track, throttles it up, and there he goes, and man, good heads-up driving there.
I was going to say, Nick Boyd did a great job not turning that into something bigger than it was. He did lose a spot there, but didn't crash the car. That's important. As Gruenberg now in traffic is setting sights on teammate Jeffrey Fisher, who I'd imagine wouldn't make his life all that difficult when he gets there, but we'll find out with 9 laps to go next time by if there will be any brakes cut from anybody, especially lap traffic. Jeremiah Llewellyn's going to run wide and let Gruenberg head on through.
Yeah, that 02 is going to let him go by, no problem there, and I believe the 02 car is top 20 run, not bad, not, it's decent, I would say, with, the strength of this field. It's probably one of the better fields as far as, I want to say the competitiveness between, first and 27th.
Yeah, competitiveness maybe, but I will tell you, this group is not super road course savvy when it comes to their iRatings, and I'll spare you the expense of reading them to you. This group in particular, I love the 3 white guys, and they're going to laugh about this later when they see this, but I think they're the first ones to admit that not all these guys embrace road racing the same way that some of the other oval leagues do. So tonight is a night that a lot of the drivers are just struggling through, and they're probably having some fun out there as well because it's such a weird combination, but I think they're looking forward to getting back on a circle track next week in Indy.
Yeah, and if you're James Miller, you're pretty much the odd one out. Well, along with Drew Eisenman, you're probably rubbing your hands together. You're like, yes, more of these, please. But everyone else is definitely having a tough time here trying to have a solid run or turn a bad run into a solid run and, maybe capitalize on others' misfortune. Yeah, but the 74 car has gone backwards, but the 09, oh, close moment there with that lap car. The 11 car is going to stay out of the way barely out of that 09 car, James Miller's path there. So we're going to catch up to another lap car here. I believe that's the 32.
It's Dustin Dewar in the 32. James Miller, I just want to listen here for a moment to his shifting. Let's listen how smooth this is. And just near perfect downshifts, rev matching beautifully, and it's paying off right now. With 7 minutes to go, he's 6 seconds up the road from second place Drew Eisenman. Fisher now feeling the pressure from his teammate Grunberg, hot on the heels of this Dot Mod 98 and stretching their legs on this back straightaway here. That 98, I'm not sure that he's going to give him the spot. I think he'll fight him pretty hard for it here.
Yeah, well, their teammates are probably not going to race each other like them here, especially when a fourth and a third can, help you in the championship standings. I believe there's no chase, so it's an overall point system. But this 54 car has definitely been quick, but he's having some trouble trying to make some overtakes on some cars. We saw that with Race Clark. It took Race making a mistake to have the 54 go by. But this 98 car has been doing a great job all night trying to keep pace, and he's up to third, and he definitely wants to keep it.
Putting pressure on his teammate, unable to get by for now. Lap times have equalized at mid 101s. Out front, 101.1 for James Miller last time by. 6.5 seconds between him and Eisenman. Another 6.5 back to Jeff Fisher. Then 4/10 back as Fisher pushes the issue here on the inside of Tanner Sharp. Sharp runs a little wide. It has not been Tanner's night. He has struggled monumentally trying to get back to the stride without any damage. Again, I just think that for some of this field, the goal is not to have a good run. The goal is just to not wreck the car and at least finish the race. So Sharp has done just that. As I say that, he runs off the racetrack, and he might find a gravel trap here. But it's just some of the goals for these drivers are a little bit different than everybody else's as we head down into the first corner. As Grunberg tries to go the long way around here and maybe arc it out on exit.
This is for some drivers, this definitely isn't helping their season-long incident points. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see some people in the upper 10s with the incident points, maybe 40 or 50 incidents. So Tanner Sharp is trying to hang on, but here comes the 98 and the 54. They're trying to battle it out here. The 54 is taking a really sharp line off there as he's going to try to take
saw a lock up into the corner. He dragged that left front tire for a couple hundred feet as they accelerate up off the corner with under 5 minutes remaining. 5 laps to go for the race leader next time by as the two teammates battle for a podium spot as they come through the final corner.
Yeah, that 54 locked it up going into that corner, and he's going to try to charge at that 98. The 98's doing a great job trying to drive away from it, but here he comes again, going for another attack. He's going to take that late apex here, and it'll set him up for a really great run down the straightaway here. No, the 98 gets a really good bite off and drives away.
Into the braking zone now, the 54 all over the 98. Going to try to cross them up on exit. Can't get there. This is the best battle on the racetrack right now, so we will not take you from it. Miller out front, having the night of his life. 2 wins in a row if he could get back to the stripe in 4 minutes and 4 more laps. And for Grunberg, there's no real sense of urgency here. He's still got a pretty good season going, but I think it would help just that much more. Remember, we saw the Grand National Series, as you mentioned earlier, come down to 1 point. This point could be that point at the end of the season, so maybe for Grunberg, the urgency a bit higher.
Yeah, that 54 has been doing everything he can. He's been trying to cross up that 98 literally every single corner. I've been surprised that the 98 hasn't given in yet and finally made a mistake. So 98 doing a really great job being really defensive. Jeffrey Fisher Certainly holding off one of the best to ever race in this league, and Matt Gruenberg is probably not too happy with how hard he's being raced here, but that 54 locks it up. He's going to go for the crossover here. This may be the pass here. No, not going to happen.
Oh, he has a big mistake. Found his way into the grass as well on driver's left, so he lost about a half second. And with 3 laps to go next time by, his time is running out. Fisher desperately trying to run away. And that was about as close as it was going to get. So Gruenberg's opportunity as he sees the door open again. Big slide again. He's trying too hard here, Liam. He's going to burn those tires off and not have a run.
Yeah, I hope he reels it back in a little bit so he doesn't burn up those tires before he has no chance. But that 54 is being super aggressive. I thought he was going to go straight. Man, these guys are racing pretty much. They're they're just driving the wheels off these cars. The 98's driving really hard. He gets really loose going off that final corner. He's going to go into the first corner, and the 54 is going to try to cross him up yet again. Nothing's going to happen there. The 54 is going to get a nice bite off and drive away a little, or the 98 is going to drive away a little bit. But here comes the 54. He's going to go for one final charge into this corner. Not going to happen. And here he comes with the crossover once again. It's not going to work like last time. So that 98 is doing a great job playing defensive, but Matt Gruenberg is probably losing more and more patience.
The 98 of Fisher trying to hang on here from his teammate. The pressure mounting from the 54 of Matt Gruenberg. He's won in everything under the sun in the 3-Wide Racing League. He's won championships. He's won in trucks, cup cars, and everything in between. And now it's 2 teammates battling as we come to 2 laps to go. He's charging into the final corner, and Fisher can sense less than 5 kilometers from now he can breathe, but he can't breathe yet. Hold that breath in as they battle for position with a minute and a half left.
Yeah, 54 throws one more Hail Mary going into the first corner. He's going to try to take that late apex all the way on the back bumper of the 98. Here comes a 54 loose off the corner, but he's going to try to set up a pass going into this one big passing zone right in here. 98's going to try to protect that inside as best as he can, but the 54 is going to take a wider line once again. He's going to lift up that left front a little bit, and it's going to set him up for this final section of the racetrack before we get to this long straightaway.
And a big slide understeer for the 98 car of Jeff Fisher. There's some lap traffic ahead. Will they get there on this final lap? That's yet to be determined. James Miller out front will take the white flag here at Tsukuba. No challenger for him tonight behind Drew Eisenman. Whoa, there's Skylar Nissel and some lap cars that are having a good scrap there. That would be for position for 15th spot as they come to the white flag. Or actually, that's the white flag for them. Behind them, Jeffrey Fisher, you see them in the background. They're closing in. Maybe Eisenman will get held up here. This could be a 3-horse race for that second spot.
Yeah, you would think the 77 would just be driving away, but these two have been battling so hard that they've been running really quick. I thought they would be, the 54 would be slowed down by the 98, but they're actually just going quicker than the 77 cars.
For James Miller out front, no dramas there. He'll come back and win this race unless he makes a big mistake. For 15th, the cars battling in front of Eisenman. Jeff Fisher and Matt Gruenberg are still nose to tail as they come into the hairpin. Final straightaway checkered flag for James Miller. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. The yellow and purple 09 will come out of the last turn and pick up 2 for 2 tonight in Japan. At Tsukuba, Miller is victorious for second place. Eisenman following the 15th place cars. They touch, and they're going to slide and crash behind them. And big trouble. The 1 car's also around. He gets drilled. And more trouble. The 11 cars off the racetrack. Fisher and Gruenberg, they come back to the stripe. Fisher 3rd, Gruenberg 4th, Race Clark in 5th, then Boyd, Kolb, Miller, and McKeevoy, the rest of the top 9.
And that had to be an incredibly scary moment for that 77 of Drew Eisenman right there. And that 11 is probably mauling behind that wheel right now. Man, we got to take a replay of this. And here comes the 11. He gets a good run off this corner. The 32 comes up. Looks like it was just kind of, nope. Here comes the 11. He's going to make that dive.
It.
And man, wow, that was weird.
Ended up kind of doing it to himself, but put himself off the racetrack, and unfortunately that will end his bid for a top 15. He will finish 18th, just put it in too deep, and the 77 cuts right and goes through. That was awesome to watch. Here's a look at your race results as James Miller celebrates with his second victory of the evening. Eisenman, Fisher, Gruenberg, Clark, Nick Boyd, Kolb, Miller, McKeevoy, and Brady Smith. How about the 20 car grabbing a top 10? Moving on back, Mike Stevens, 11th. Great result for him. Donovan Smith ended up 13th after spinning out on the final lap. Then Dustin Dewar, Alex Boyd, Miller, Nissel, Llewellyn, and Tanner Sharp, the rest of the top 20. We'll step away for a few minutes. We'll be right back with interviews. Stay with us. Welcome back live to Sim TV here now with the 98. Jeff Fisher in the number 98. Jeffrey, tonight, some good battles, especially at the end with your teammate Matt Grunberg. That looked like so much fun. A weird track and a weird car to combine together, but somehow it worked and he came home third.
Yeah, it was definitely not easy holding off Matt. Trying to not let him pressure me and miss my apexes and stuff like that. But all in all, it was a good night. Two third place finishes to kind of crawl myself back up in the points because two very bad races at Richmond and Michigan. So it feels good to get some points back.
Well, next week we head to Indianapolis, and everyone knows that's a pretty wild racetrack, even with the modern Cup cars. How is that going to translate to these older-bodied cars, and how much of a challenge will that be in comparison to something like this?
I don't know. I've never driven these cars there. I've driven the Indy 500 twice. That does not relate to these cars. I'm normally good at that track, so hopefully I can transfer that to this car.
All right, well, we'll see how you do next Monday. Thanks so much for talking to us, Jeff. Congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Moving on now to our second place finisher, Drew Eisenman, and a pair of seconds this evening, and an unorthodox strategy that I wasn't sure was going to work out, but it sort of did for you. Take us through the decision process to make that pit stop in race number 1, and tell us why you didn't do the same in the second race.
Well, I definitely didn't have the pace that James had, so I just figured I'd try something else. I'm in a pretty good position points wise, so I could take the risk and maybe it pays off, maybe it didn't. It turned out I think I finished exactly where I would have finished in P2 no matter what. It was a lot of fun. It was I had to drive Q laps for the last 10 laps of race 1. But in race 2, it didn't work in race 1. So I wanted to just try something different, see if I can match James lap for lap. And I did for about the first half of the race. And then I had to push really hard in the opening 3 laps ish, trying to get back up into second. And I think that just did enough to my tires to where they just weren't, they wouldn't do what I needed them to do to catch James. But congrats to him. He drove a heck of a race.
On our schedule the next couple of weeks, we've got Indianapolis, Pocono, Iowa, and Darlington coming up. Oh boy, this schedule, if it wasn't weird already, it's going to get weirder, especially with Pocono. That's going to be a long straightaway for these cars. Your thoughts in the next couple of rounds, and how do you think you'll do out there?
Of Indianapolis, I think it's as challenging as like those bigger tracks can be, because you just have to be so precise, especially with these cars. It's going to be a really, really big challenge to like hit your apex, 4 times a lap. That's going to be a lot of fun. Pocono is crazy in these cars. I've done it before. It's going to be crazy because the draft effect is so big. And then Iowa should be pretty typical. In Darlington, I don't know. I've never driven these cars there. But it's really awesome that we have this really fun schedule that I don't think a lot of people were expecting. Like the fact that we did Tsukuba tonight, I think everyone was like, "What? They're doing what?" It was so much fun out there. It's cool that we're willing to try some stuff that other leagues I don't think would be willing to do.
Yeah, certainly a fun experiment tonight. I think it definitely worked out. Drew, congratulations! Some solid top 5 runs. We'll see you at Indy in a week.
Thanks, Kyle.
Sure thing. Moving on now to our third and final interview tonight. It'll be the race winner of both races, James Miller, sweeping from Tsukuba in the 09 Chevrolet. James, tonight, a perfect night, it seems like. Take us through your evening.
Yeah, it was surprising. Honestly, I came into the race because Drew and I have been racing these cars and other races with road racing, and I know he's got really good long run speed and he's quite consistent. And I figured that I wasn't quite comfortable coming into the race that I could have the consistency and keep my tires under me. But once we got into the race, kind of the mindset, focusing of doing it, and I guess it was really paying off. And the first race, Drew pitted, which kind of threw me off. We were like, is there a fuel strat race? What's going on here? And we were a little confused by it, but it seemed like it paid off a little bit for him. But when Nick had his technical issues there, I got a little distracted, and I actually looped it coming out of the first corner and nose into the wall.
Well, I didn't notice it, so you obviously managed to do it pretty discreetly.
Yeah, and I had to back up, and there was a lap car, so I had to wait for him and got going again. And I think my lead definitely was cut in half, but it was still a 6-second lead over my teammate Jeff. So a little nervous about making a mistake, but glad that I had a big enough lead to pay off for it. And then so coming into this race, I was a little nervous still because the track was faster. I'm already a little tired from the first race, and the other guys seemed to be pushing a little harder, with Nick getting the pole with a pretty good lap. And just came into the first corner there, just try to hang it out on the outside, and got the inside. Nearly rolled the car, to be honest. It really gripped up on the right side, a little scary. But then just did our thing, pulled away, and did a horrible burnout, nose into the wall. But I think we can work on that in the future.
Well, it's always good to get some practice. Thanks so much for talking to us, James. We'll see you at Indy in a week.
All right, thank you.
Sure thing. And with that, that's going to wrap up the interviews here tonight. And again, thanks to all the drivers for putting on a heck of a show tonight. A weird one here from Tsukuba, but I think it certainly worked out. Again, my name's Kyle Heyer. I was joined by Liam Sheen. We'll be back with you tomorrow for the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. They'll be headed to North Wilkesboro. We'll see you there.